that's a foreign. I've been all around the VeVeVerse, we been touring. FOMO, fear, missing out while we scoring. On me millionaire, 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 millionaire. Cause you know when it rains, it be pouring. We was all investing, they was snoring. Now look at my collection, it's enormous. On me millionaire, 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 millionaire. Bullish on that cryptocurrency, and you know it. Ever since the pandemic, we've been really on it. Bullish on it, copping NFT every morning. On me millionaire, lifestyle never boring. Meet me there, on the moon, it's important. Thank you to everybody that supported. Now we poppin' champagne, that's important. And we kept playing the game, ain't aborted. Solid diamond hands are rewarded. On me millionaire, millionaire, millionaire.
What's up, my OMI homies and fellow NFT collectors? It is debate night, Friday night, and we've got OG Johnny Dunn and Mr. All Day Chris here for tonight's debate. What's up, everybody in the chat? Thanks for coming. He's got this Green Bay Packers stuff on. Johnny Dunn's got his $100 bill in the background.
Got to.
All right, guys, before we get started, we're going to go ahead and go with introductions and let you guys know who's debating tonight. Since Mr. Chris All Day is on top, I'll let him start. You guys probably know him from my live streams. He's Original Mertz, the creator of Middlegate. And Mertz, whenever I bring you up, whenever I bring debaters up, I always ask the same 3 questions. And those 3 questions are, when did you join VeVe? What's your most valuable NFT? And what's your YouTube channel about?
Okay. So, let's start with the first one. I got on VeVe, I believe, in the summertime, so I'd probably been like June, July, and I heard about it because I was doing some research on NFTs, and the first thing I saw was I just got in the first thing I saw was Marvel comic coming out on VeVe, whatever it was. It's the first comic coming out on the platform. And I was like, oh, a comic book NFT. I was like, that's crazy. I never heard about that. So I got in on that, and then for that first drop alone, I remember you could click that buy button a few times before having to stress about it. But it's crazy, you can't do that anymore.
Times changed now.
Yeah, things are different. The second one was what's
your most valuable NFT? It doesn't necessarily have to be a VeVe NFT, but in general, overall, what's your most valuable NFT?
I don't want to talk about my wallet anymore. Keeps me up at night. Yeah. So I used to have a wallet, not anymore. But I guess you could say it's Steamboat Willie now. So Steamboat Willie, yeah, is my most valuable NFT.
Is that the ultra rare?
The ultra rare, yeah.
Oh,
of course.
nice. That's a blue chip.
Yeah, that's gonna be an iconic one for sure. That's a good one.
And you're one of a newer VeVe YouTuber. What's your YouTube channel about?
Yep. So currently doing VeVe related content. So I saw that sticking to a niche right away and then just going right into a topic that I already know information about does well for me. So I'm just gonna particularly be currently with VeVe, NFTs, cryptocurrencies, that kind of deal. But I do want to talk about real estate and other categories along the way as well. But that's what I stick in for now.
Real estate too. That's nice. Awesome. And you can actually tie those together once we get to the metaverse.
And
then Chris All Day will be debating against the OG Johnny Dunn. I'm sure most people in the chat already know Johnny Dunn. He was here, one of the first people here telling people to start buying these NFTs. He was buying the NFTs. We wasn't listening early enough, but he was stocking them up. Johnny Dunn, I'm going to ask you the same 3 questions, which is, when did you get into VeVe, which I know is very early? What's your most valuable NFT, which is probably very expensive? And what's your YouTube channel about?
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, appreciate you for having me on Vault, and nice to meet you as well, Chris. And crazy, man. I got into VeVe, I want to say March 1st it was. I think I made my first purchase March 3rd. So it's coming up now on that 1-year anniversary. Unbelievable. It feels like, just a couple months ago, to be honest. It's weird because it feels like a few months ago I joined, but also it feels so long ago. It feels like almost years at the same time. It's weird how it can feel like both. But yeah, so March 3rd, I think I made my first purchase. Just feel blessed. I went all in back then. It may seem like I'm a whale these days to a lot of people joining the app, but I'm NFT rich, cash poor, as they say.
I hear that.
So I'm trying to get there, but I'm just felt blessed. I went all in early, so I was able to capitalize on that moment. My most expensive NFT right now, there's a couple of them. I want to say the Secret Rare Spider-Man. I know that's taken a little bit of a dip. It was up there in price, but I would say that's probably one of my most expensive ones. That or the Walt. I made a huge move. I got 2 wallets, to be honest. I sold a Givenchy. I sold a Givenchy, and I know, Vault, you were big on the Givenchy's back then, and I agree. I think those were pretty big, and it was a gut decision. I let one go, and I got the Walt when it was around that 3K range, and I didn't know if I made the right decision, to be honest. I made it. It was a gut decision, and the only reason I did that is because I had the one Walt at the time, two Givenchy's, so I felt like I could take a chance, and so I got that second Walt, and I just woke up in the morning, and it was like double, triple, whatever it was. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it just happened. So luckily, probably those two, Walt or the Secret Spider-Man. Those are, and Todd. I think Todd's going to be up there too. I think Todd will get up there. Rizzo, but
absolutely, that's the one.
Those are some of my favorite ones too, for sure. And you said the last question, my VeVe channel.
You've been doing YouTube for quite a while. What do you mostly focus on in particular?
Yeah, so on my channel right now, it's just it used to be music involved. That's kind of how I started my YouTube channel. Was I started making music. But right now it's all VeVe ever since VeVe came out. And well, not since it came out, but ever since I first found VeVe, it's just been all VeVe content. I do the live streams now. And I know you got the spam gate going on. You've been crushing it with the spams. I kind of have the other drop strategy, I would say, the timing technique I developed into. So I try to, teach people my ways and how I'm getting these drops. But also I just try to create like a positive atmosphere for people to come and hang out, just good energy vibes, show new users how to use the VeVe app and everything like that. So just VeVe content. Pretty much.
Perfect. Yeah, and you're so good at that timing that I actually call it Johnny Dunn Gate.
Let's go.
Sometimes we call it Johnny Gate. We've been calling it that for a while because Johnny Dunn's got the perfect timing. He doesn't always use the spinning like I do. And I think, and I always say this, probably because he's a musician, he has musical talent, and he can time those beats better. And do you think that has something to do with your timing abilities?
You know what's funny about that, Vault? A lot of people have been kind of like matching that up, and it makes sense. And it's so funny because I'm not like Pineapple Gang. Shout out to It's Wonderful, amazing musician. He's been making music his whole life, like you can tell. Right. I just started making music kind of randomly in 2018, and I've definitely gotten better along the way. I still got to get there. I'm still grinding hard at it, but I feel like the music definitely has a little bit of a factor to it. When I first started making music, people used to say I used to rap off beat. So it's funny that like I'm perfect beat, perfect timing with this. I think the combination of, the music background, but also sports. I feel like sports, the hand-eye coordination probably has a lot to do with it too. So I always tell people, if I was a coach to like a baseball team, golf, team, whatever the case is, it's like a baseball swing or a golf swing. I'm not gonna, if people are spamming it like your strategy, if they're doing well with that, I would never tell someone to stop doing that way and do my way.
Right.
I would always tell people if they're struggling one way, try the other way.
Exactly.
Because it's like not everyone's going to swing the same way or whatever. Some people maybe all the time I hear on my channel that they still use your spamming technique just because, they feel more comfortable with it. So
yeah,
there's so many different ways. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Whatever way works.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thanks for coming to VeVe Debate Night. Tonight, our topic is VeVe NFTs versus OMI tokens. Which one is the better investment? And all day, Chris is going to be representing the OMI tokens. And of course, Johnny Dunn will be representing NFTs in this argument. And at the end of the debate, when there's about 5 or 10 minutes left before the end of the hour, we're going to start live voting. And you guys will have 5 minutes to vote on who you think provided the best argument. And that person will receive my favorite comic cover, The House of X Uncommon by Joe Madureira. The winner will receive that one, so make sure you're paying attention and you pick the correct winner. Don't just give it to the OG because everybody loves Johnny Dunn.
Yeah, be fair. Be fair in the chat.
Give Chris a chance, guys. All right, speaking of All Day Chris, we're going to start off with you on opening arguments. Like I said, you're choosing the side of OMI tokens. Do you think OMI tokens are a better investment than VeVe NFTs?
Ooh, okay, we're going right into it. So let's go and let's take it back a little bit. So for NFTs on VeVe currently, I would say in this current market right now, are probably a good investment all around because we're in a down market, I would say. And so is OMI. OMI is also in a down market. So I would say the one that has the biggest multiplier on it is going to be probably OMI compared to the NFTs because not everybody can go and buy, like a Walt right now for about 25 grand, but you can put a few hundred or a few thousand into OMI and you could see it exponentially grow if it keeps on, well, not if, maybe not financial advice, but if and when it does go up, I think you would be able to make a bigger return on the OMI compared to the NFTs currently. Now, I'm sure there are still more wiggle room for the NFTs to go up, but I think OMI has a lot more potential and it's still like a sleeping giant people haven't found out about yet.
Absolutely. Both markets are definitely down right now. OMI tokens and VeVe NFTs. And Johnny Dunn thinks VeVe NFTs are a better investment overall than OMI tokens. Let us know why you think so, Johnny.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely close. I think, but like you just said, the OMI market, the OMI price is down pretty substantial right now. The VeVe market's dipped a lot too as well. So both are kind of down right now. I do see the VeVe NFTs probably doing, I mean, they're both going to do extremely well. Like you said, not financial advice to anybody out there. We're not financial advisors. Our opinions, entertainment only. Got to make that disclosure out there.
Yes,
Absolutely.
But, I think the VeVe NFTs, I think they're going to do great because, for a few different reasons. One, they're a lot more fun than the OMI tokens, I would say. Holding a lot of these VeVe NFTs are fun, showing them off in your collection. So one thing is for sure, when the price dips, I know for me, I still have fun with my collection. I'm not too worried about the price just because I am a collector. Now with the OMI token dipping, you're holding on to a bunch of tokens that now are just worth not as much. So that is one factor to play a part. Plus with all the speculation, it is speculation right now, but the utility a lot of these NFTs could have in the future. This is just obviously speculation, but if Disney World or if Disney license was to say, you get a free pass to Disney for having those golden moments or anything like that, or, if VeVe was to offer something, you get to meet David and Dan having the first VeVe NFT, a lot of these collectibles could end up soaring in price. And at the end of the day, I feel like there's no OMI token without the VeVe app. So those are a few of my reasons why I believe in the VeVe NFTs big time.
Absolutely. That's a good point about what utilities could be added to the VeVe NFTs in the future, but there could also be utility added to OMI tokens. And I see where Riley Pearson asked, do these guys actually believe in what they're debating or just more of a devil's advocate? In this case, I asked both guys which side they wanted to argue, and they picked the sides that they're arguing. They both had the different, they both wanted to argue the side that they're on. Unlike last debate when I think both guys wanted to argue the same side, I kind of had to talk one of them into taking the devil's advocate. But here, no, both guys do apparently believe what they're preaching. So we're going to get into some of the topics, some of the subtopics on OMI versus VeVe NFTs. And if you guys have any questions in the chat.
I will say this though, Raw. I will interrupt you real quick. I will say I do think OMI, for the purposes of the argument, I want to say I do think that OMI will be a king long term. So for the entertainment purposes of the debate, I am arguing the VeVe NFT side just because my collection is, I will say this publicly, I'm a lot more heavily invested in the VeVe NFTs than the OMI token. But I do think long term, OMI token definitely can be king for sure. I am arguing on the VeVe NFT side, so I'm just going to be kind of devil's advocate here. I am going to kind of just bring up points for the VeVe NFT side.
Right, on the other side of that, Johnny, though, is that it's not all money technically, because like you said, these are collectibles, these are things you can do more with, you can have fun with, you might be able to do more things within the metaverse. So not technically, it might not just come down to which one is going to be worth more money 100 years from now. That's an interesting argument in itself. But all right, guys, we're going to get to our first question, our first topic, and that was not the right one. Okay, so you got government regulations that could probably come into play possibly for cryptocurrency. They've already talked about that, but what they haven't talked about is in the future if there could be some type of government regulations for NFTs. I'll start with you, Johnny. Do you think that it's more likely that OMI tokens will be affected negatively by government regulations in the future, or that NFTs might be something that they crack down on and regulate or tax really heavily, and that might be a problem with the growth?
Yeah, I think both could be absolutely impacted by these regulations, especially with the NFT side, especially with the OpenSea NFTs, I would say specifically, just because I'm a firm believer that we're kind of in this wild, wild west era of NFTs. I've always kind of said that we're almost in like the LimeWire era of NFTs. If anyone's old enough to remember the LimeWire days, the Napster days of when the physical streaming, their physical music, the CDs kind of transitioned into the digital streaming realm. We had the wild, wild west of the Napster, the LimeWire, crazy things. And then that got regulated into premium licensed digital music streaming with the Apple Music, the iTunes. And that's kind of where I see it, the NFTs kind of shifting from, like the OpenSea, the wild, wild west. Now, shout out to OpenSea because they do have a lot of great independent artists out there. It's a great way for independent artists to get their work out there. But I think that's going to get regulated in some kind of format. And it's going to really shift into what VeVe has, the premium licensed digital collectibles. Now, with the tax implications, I think it is such a new space. It's still kind of the wild, wild west in that right now. Now, I see VeVe kind of making sure that these are digital collectibles, as in these are going to be kind of like toys almost, as they're saying, because just like the action figures there are out there in the real world, These are just digitized toys almost. So I'm sure there's going to be some kind of regulation there, but I'm not sure if it's really going to. Now, short term, it definitely could be impacted negatively. But I think long term, that's kind of where I see this space going. Is these are going to be like digital collectibles, digital toys almost, and that's why I feel like almost OMI could get impacted more so depending on the utility. Right now, it's kind of speculation. It's not confirmation that the OMI token is going to be used on different platforms. But if that is the case, which I think it will be, I hope so at least. I think that's going to be great for the token. But in that case, we don't really know how that's going to get regulated. What is the OMI token there for exactly? So I feel like there's a little bit more question marks with how it's going to get regulated with the OMI token on that side. Because cryptocurrency, that's not so much new. It's been here for a few years now, but the OMI token is new. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how that works in the future.
That is going to be interesting, especially if they're characterized as collectibles. Collectibles have their own like tax bracket and things. So if NFTs are collectibles in the future and they're treated that way, that's going to make a difference on how much it's affected by government regulations. Mr. All Day Chris, what do you think? Which one is going to be more negatively affected by those regulations?
Okay. So so what you just said about the taxes specifically, my parents are both CPAs, and even they are having a hard time understanding the concept of NFTs and all this. Like, because when I try to explain the whole format for how VeVe does it and how apparently we're not trading and like it's just gems and not the actual, like, we know that it's UFC, everyone is $1. To them, they're like, okay, so is it money or is it not money? And it's like, because if it's money, then everything is a taxable event. If it's not money, then what are you doing playing a game? It's like, oh my goodness. It's like, okay, like, they don't believe like what I'm doing yet is, they have a hard time understanding. They think it's just like, it's like cards or something. It's something they're trying to, yeah, exactly. It's not real. It's not real yet until you can physically see it. But I would say the one, so yeah, I would say governments can really, let's see, well, the question is, which is more likely to negatively affected by government regulations? I would say definitely, I would think the NFTs probably, more specifically, would probably get harder because of the fact that the IRS is typically, I would say, 5 years behind. That's usually how we see it. So they don't really kind of know the industries and the day-to-day life of information that we currently have with NFTs, crypto, and everything like that. But they do catch up. So I'd say they're kind of behind. And eventually when they get that technology to start, getting the bubbles and trends and what's coming up, they'll be like, oh, you want to make money on NFTs? Let me make something real quick. Let me get you with that 20% tax real quick. Like it can happen. But I honestly think NFTs will be a lot harder because of the fact that they're going to probably start treating them more like art. And like if they do that specifically, it goes into that specific category, the tax bracket, where I'm not tax bracket, sorry, tax identification list to see what it is. Is it a long term? Is it a capital gain? What is it? So that might have its own little separate category. So I think that will get a lot harder because OMI, I feel like, is more like I think the word people use is decentralized, more like with the cryptocurrency space where you people get in it for different types of reason. Everybody has their own goals and objectives on what they're trying to do with that money. Some people think people launder money through it. Like you could launder money through crypto exchanges, through NFTs, whatever it is, but there's systems in place to like try to stop that. But everybody wants to do their own little thing with the OMI, and I think that would be a lot easier for you to be a little bit more freedom. I'd say a little bit more freedom, accessibility, to be more liquid in the OMI compared to an NFT currently.
Definitely more liquidable. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
So, because if you hold the NFT, you got to wait for somebody to buy it. And if your price isn't that market value, it's harder to sell. So I would say definitely the NFTs.
Yeah, especially since there's so much of an unknown right now. And it goes a lot with what Bruin88 Wife's argument is. She says that VeVe collectibles are only worth gems, but OMI tokens are actually worth cash. That's how some people look at it. Shout out to Crypto Khaki is in the building, one of our previous winners of VeVe Debate Night, the Todd Father. All right, let's get into the next one. Well, the VeVeVerse, once we get into the metaverse and the VeVeVerse begins, is that going to fuel the growth of OMI more, or is it going to fuel the prices of NFTs more? And I'll start off with you this time, Chris, all day Chris.
Man, that's a good one. I would say both, but since I can't, I'm going to argue my side. So OMI, of course, I think OMI will definitely have a lot more I would say, behind it, given the fact that we know there's going to be that master collectors program coming out. We know that OMI token has the utility coming out eventually, that we just don't see it yet. But we know that the burn mechanics are running in the background every time somebody buys and sells, or any little transactions made on the app. OMI eventually keeps going down and down and down. And if we played the simple game of supply and demand, eventually the supply of OMI is going to keep going down, even though it's like billions, but might take a few years. I don't know how long currently, but it might take quite some time to burn through that many OMI. But once we get to a level where we have enough people trying to buy something, and we have, let's say, a few million people putting their money towards OMI, and there's only a few hundred oh no, God, that's a lot of billion. Okay, there's only like, let's say, 50 billion OMI, and everybody's trying to buy into it. Well, now we can see that the price is going to start going up a little bit more. We're going to see people going into it, and then they're like, oh, you're telling me if I own a certain amount of this, I can rent my collectible? Like, oh, cash flow. And next thing you know, now you can have, like, you're renting out your Walt Disney to some guy to have a party down the street, and you're making about, maybe $200-300 for the day. And all you did was let him borrow it, and then he gives it back to you. Like, it's the possibilities are endless with the OMI. I would say the things they can apply with the underlying structure of the NFTs with the OMI is insane. So I honestly think our imaginations are the limit currently with what they can do with the OMI token.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of different applications in the VeVeVerse for the OMI token, but there's also a lot of applications for the NFTs. Johnny, why do you think the NFTs, if you do, will grow more in value whenever the VeVeVerse begins?
Yeah, I'll definitely say so. So I would say you're definitely right about the OMI, especially with the whole land and everything like that with the VeVeVerse coming out. That's going to, I think, boost OMI big time. With the OMI utility program, that's definitely going to help the OMI as well. I think a lot of people are going to be flocking to buy the OMI, get the land purchases. And I think that's going to be big time for sure. And I think the reason why the NFTs could be even more valuable than that, because at the end of the day, a lot of the times people are going to be spending their OMI on the NFTs itself, on these collectibles. So I feel like the NFTs itself is like the end game. A lot of times people are going to be spending the OMI for the land. And what are you going to put in your land? These collectibles to show off. And it's about that final stunt, I feel like. So being able to rent out these collectibles is going to be huge with the OMI. I mean, being able to get into that OMI utility program to be able to rent out your collectibles, I should say. And once again, I feel like it just all goes back to those collectibles, to be able to rent them out with the master collector program. That's kind of like the other side of you got the OMI utility program, then the master collector program. And through that, you could also be able to rent these collectibles out. So I feel like OMI is like a great tool, a great way for a lot of people to be able to swoop up a lot of these collectibles in the end. And so for me, I think in the short term with the land purchases and everything like that, definitely OMI. But at the end of the day, I think people are going to want to have these collectibles to show off on their land, in their houses. So maybe the NFTs get the final push there.
Well, let me ask you this as a follow-up. You mentioned land. Are the land NFTs themselves in the VeVeVerse? Do you know?
Say this again, I'm sorry?
So when you buy land in the VeVeVerse, is the land an NFT itself?
That's a great question. I know we've seen it on different platforms, like I think in Decentraland, Sandbox, and I think even some other ones that you might have even brought up. I think you can, the land itself is an NFT.
Okay, cool.
So I'm sure that could be a possibility in the future as well.
Nice.
And I'm wondering too, if these collectibles could maybe, it's kind of speculation as of now, but maybe unlock a certain part of a land. Maybe if you have all the Ghostbusters collectibles,
ooh, I like that.
It kind of allows you to either buy or access to like a Ghostbusters themed land area or something like that. Same with the Disney, every brand might have its own type.
Very true.
Theme park, theme land type thing.
What's up, everybody? If you're just joining us, we are having VeVe debate night. The topic is VeVe NFTs versus OMI tokens. Which one is a better investment? And Johnny Dunn is arguing for the NFTs, as you can tell, and All Day Chris is arguing for the OMI tokens. Okay, so what about interoperability and utility? I'm going to start with you this time, Johnny Dunn. I know Epico Regal is an app that just recently launched and announced that they were partnering with Ecomi, and a lot of people are speculating that they're going to be using those OMI tokens as their fuel for that app. Do you think the OMI tokens have more interoperability than the NFTs, which we may be able to possibly one day put on OpenSea? I don't know if you think we're going to be able to put Disney NFTs on OpenSea or not.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. I'll start this.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think Chris touched on it in the beginning. I think OMI is definitely more liquidable than the NFTs. I would say liquidable would definitely be the word I would use for the OMI token. Now, interoperable, I would say it's a hard one to say just because we have had some leaks, some quote unquote leaks, right, that haven't actually been confirmed just yet. So I would say until that comes out, I guess it's still quote unquote speculation, even though we have pretty good thoughts that it could come true. OMI could be used on different platforms. And because of that, I would say short term, maybe because of the OMI token, more interoperability. But I think long term, until we get more word that it's confirmation that about more and more platforms using the OMI token, I think these VeVe NFTs could be more interoperable. I know at first with the immutable Lex transition, the artist collectibles, so the Decon artists, the Tristan Eatons, even the ones before that, like the Jermaine Rogers, the Frank Kozics, the Ron Englishes, shout out to all those artists, independent artists. I sold a lot of those collectibles, so I always feel bad talking about them. I kept a couple, but I wish I was able to keep the whole sets of those. I love shouting out those artists. I became big fans of a lot of those artists, but
Yeah, me too.
we know those collectibles are going to be able to get sent onto the IMX wallet at first. And then I think a lot of these brands will surprise people. I really do believe that these big brands will be interoperable. And once a couple of them do that, I think that's going to be the gate opening, the floodgates opening, because I don't know for sure if Marvel's going to allow it, but I know Marvel's been working with the VeVe team now for a few years. So I feel like if any of the big brands that do allow it, I would only say Marvel just because of their close relationship with them. And it'll be so interesting to see if a big brand with that much power actually does that, because I think DC wouldn't really have any other option other than to allow it as well to kind of just compete. I'm sure that's probably a brand that doesn't really want to do that at first. So I think a lot of the movement is going to depend on these big brands that have had relationships with VeVe for years. And I think it's going to come down to their trust. And the way it's working right now with the VeVe app, I think their trust is growing with them, to be honest. Because I think like the moves that they just recently made with Disney, I don't think the Valentine's Golden Moments was a planned event for a while. I think it was just the initial week Golden Moments. And then I think it came out that Disney decided last minute type thing, can we do the Valentine's Day thing? And then VeVe said, sure. And they made it happen. So I think the trust is growing with these big brands to where I do see the VeVe NFTs being a little bit more interoperable maybe in the future.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe we'll be able to even take VeVe NFTs and put them into other metaverses like Sandbox or Defunct Land. Shout out to Crypto Khaki for the super chat. He's liking that backdrop. Let's go. I appreciate you, bro. It's not my vault, unfortunately. I stole this backdrop picture from Minnesota NFTs.
I gotta check it out. I haven't even seen the
bunch of golden moments. I try to use one of Johnny Dunn's vault pictures for my background, but it almost crashed my computer. Too much stuff in there. All right, we're going to go to you all day, Chris. And another way to word this question would be, which one between VeVe NFTs and OMI tokens will interact with other companies outside of eComi? So do you think OMI tokens are going to run through a bunch of different apps, or do you think VeVe NFTs are going to be able to be put into a bunch of different metaverses?
So for the sake of argument, I will choose one, but I do believe both will be a thing. But the argument, I'm going to keep on my OMI side. I'm going to stick to OMI here. But so I honestly think that when it comes to the NFT specifically, and like we said, the big IPs, Disney, Marvel, which are the same company, I believe now, since Disney did buy Marvel, it does come down, like what Johnny was saying, to trust. Because, what if they were deciding to make a rug pull on us and said, you know what, everything that was on VeVe, let's just scratch that, pretend it didn't happen. Let us go make our website on disney.com/NFTs and release our first NFT. Like, they could. It all relies on trust. So we trust the system currently, hoping that our NFTs are these, first, licensed, collectible, premium things we are buying. Because if it comes down to these companies saying, hey, it was fun, but it comes to an end. It's time to start our new beginning. Here we go. And next thing you know, people are like, wait, then what is it that I have? You're telling me this whole time it's just a picture this whole time? I could have just screenshotted it. Like, if that's the case, people keep making it. It's like, oh man, here we go. But when it comes to the OMI, I think there's no OMI has none of those. Like, it's just OMI, right? So it's just a token. So you can't really put in all those all their things like, are they gonna rug pull on us? It all depends on the holders itself, the supply and demand. You go into more about economics, kind of going into the OMI price itself. And OMI has a lot of catalysts coming up for a fact that we know that eventually, hopefully within the next year or two, that these bigger companies are going to start listing it on their platforms. I hope to see Coinbase list OMI. I really hope to see that happen, because if we can get Coinbase
That'll
with the
be
OMI,
huge.
oh
Yeah.
my goodness, man, forget about.
Floodgates will be
Yeah,
open.
that's
Woo!
literally like, now you're appeasing to the masses, and now you have all those hundreds of millions of people coming in and seeing like, oh, what is this one? OMI. Oh, today I think I'm gonna decide to put money into it. Boom, and there you go. Now you can. So once we can finally make it easy for people, that is when it's gonna be so much better for everyone. Because I think currently with the way that OMI is structured, at first I had no idea how to buy. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. I went on the YouTube and I was like, oh man, how do you do this? And then I think I watched Cavell's video and he's like, yeah, you just do this and that and this. And I was like, okay. I still didn't really understand it. So I went to go watch somebody else's video, and I just had to go through a bunch of people to figure it out. And then once I did, I was like, okay, all right, this makes sense. So I have to go buy this from here, transfer this to there, that goes from here, and then I finally get this one to my trust wallet. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of steps, and that would deter so many users from wanting to get into something. Because if you have all these steps, I would say they're more like it's like an structure. It's another level. It's like a
A
hassle
lot of
for
friction
somebody.
there.
Yeah, that's a lot of like, not somebody just wants to click buttons nowadays. That's all people want to do. Just like on drop day,
Buy
you just
now,
want to click
buy now.
buy. Exactly. You just want to click buy. That's it. Nobody wants to, oh, I gotta go do all this. My social, you want this, you want that. Like, all right, just buy. So once we get to that Coinbase where it's just buy, this is when I see the OMI going to the moon. This is where it is going to be like, people are going to be talking about, oh, this is OMI. And then once they find out, like, wait a minute, it's not just OMI. There's NFTs behind this. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, it's not just NFTs. They got Walt, they got Batman, they got Spider-Man. It's like, whoa, they've been having, why has nobody talked about this? And they're going to be like, well, I guess there just wasn't a big audience behind it. But once you bring in those influencers and those celebrities and those, like, even politicians, let's say you even get like some presidents are flexing on countries like, hey, look, I got a Walt in my statue, like in my backyard.
We have the USPS brand.
Exactly.
We got the government.
Yeah, if you guys want to buy stamps, you know where to get them. But I even remember at one point I was talking about like a stamp tax with stamps, but I ain't gonna go into it right now. But I think honestly, OMI is once we can make it more simplified for people, it's gonna be the way. And that's going to be the move, because OMI will definitely bring a lot more users for VeVe and NFTs, and that's what I believe.
I think you're right, because that's how I found out and started buying VeVe NFTs. Was I wanted to learn about cryptocurrency. I bought OMI tokens, and then after I had OMI tokens, then I started buying the VeVe NFTs because I wanted to support the company that I had invested in. So I think a lot of people, once they get into Coinbase and they get OMI for the first time and learn about it, then they're going to start buying the VeVe NFTs too. So both of them are going to go up in value.
Definitely.
Okay, so we're going
It's
to
funny
start.
that you say that, because I feel like that's the split, right? That's the you found OMI first, and then you found the VeVe app and you went to support the investment. And I feel like that's the divide. That's not really divide, but I guess half the people do that way. Half the people find the VeVe app 1st, and they get into crypto, and OMI the VeVe app kind of introduces people to crypto that way. And that's how it worked with me. So
I'd like to do a survey I'd like to do a survey of everybody to find out how many people, like, did most people find OMI first, or did most people find VeVe first? I think at first most people found OMI first because it's kind of crypto people into it, but now because it's becoming more widespread, now it's people that don't do crypto that are finding it.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of shifting a little bit.
All right, we're going to get into this one. It's kind of a broad topic. It's short-term versus long-term. So how I'm going to word it to you, I'm going to start off with you all day, Chris, is there at any point down the line where NFTs, VeVe NFTs will become to you more valuable than your stance at OMI tokens? I'm talking maybe 20, 30 years down the line. Maybe the NFTs are so iconic, the first NFTs on the blockchain, and of course it'll go the other way for Johnny. But whenever we're going like really, really long term, do you think that your opinion in this situation is going to change at any point?
So let's see, my stance, will it change over the years to come? I could see it. Yeah, I would say eventually. I think at the current price of the token, if you're gonna ask me if I put like, let's do this, I put 25 grand down on OMI, and or if I put 25,000 for a Walt, which one would go up more in value in the long term?
Yeah,
I would probably have to say eventually it would probably be the OMI, hopefully if things go right. But let's just scratch that aside. The Walt would probably also go up in value in itself, because it's a Walt statue. There's only so many of them, and it's like, you know, it's that name that everybody's like, it's Walt and Disney. It's with Mickey, and I guess it's FE of Mickey because they don't want to give it to, you know, Steamboat Willie. Apparently, I have no idea. But you know, that's the thing with that. But man, that's so long-term wise. If these NFTs that we have on VeVe can become like the crypto apes, and we can get it to become like the crypto punks and all those different ones on OpenSea where people have an actual, like, we have a community behind our NFTs, of course, but I think the community within those communities are a lot like tight knit and stronger, and people are like really believe into like, oh man, we're gonna hold on to this so one day I can get an invitation to Jason Derulo's concert next week or something like that. Like, you hope to eventually have utility with these NFTs. So hopefully somebody adds that layer in with it. And if they really start doing that with, let's say, Walt, like I think Ray Fixie had a tweet where he said, hey, I want to make sure we could get the Walt statue to have lifetime access to any of the Disney theme parks. I put my signature on that petition he had. I was like, heck yeah, if you could do that. Like, the utility behind that would, you know how much you pay for a Disney ticket? Like, exactly, like just to go once? And you're telling me you can go forever if you had a Walt statue? I would probably pay 25 grand for a Walt, because I'd end up paying that 25,000 eventually throughout my lifetime to go to the Disney theme parks. So if these NFTs have utility behind them and the community themselves even give them some type of utility, I think it would really increase those prices in the long term. So I would say, yeah, the NFTs definitely could go up in the long term of things. And I think the only thing that would probably hold them back is, like I said, about the whole rug pull thing. Unless they completely said, hey, these weren't the actual ones and I want to go make my own other ones, then we're at the knees and the mercy of Disney at that point. We're like, please don't do that. But that's what I would say.
Yeah, the definitely future utility is going to make a big difference. And when it comes to the scarcity, you could be right that in the future, the partner statues or the TODs get so scarce that they become more valuable. But then in the future, so many OMI tokens are burned that once again they become more scarce. So I don't know. What do you think, Johnny Dunn? Where do you stand in the long-term future? Would your opinion ever change to where you think OMI tokens are a better investment? Because, you know, like I said, maybe so many have been burnt.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see because OMI's so cheap right now. You know, not financial advice, of course. What we're all saying tonight. I want to keep reiterating that.
Not financial advice. Please
opinions and entertainment
only.
only.
Yes.
But I mean, when you think about the price of OMI right now in the short term, I know this is kind of long term, but I'll kind of go through the whole short term, long term. OMI right now is half a penny, less than half a penny, I think, and I think that's going to be just like an iconic statement. We'll probably clip this in about a couple of years and say OMI was how cheap,
right?
But again, I mean, a lot of these NFTs are still so cheap too. I mean, these collectibles, I mean, like you said, the partner statue, the Marvel Comics #1, the Secret Rare Spider-Man, the 500 edition James Bond, the 7 edition James Bond ticket, the car that's dropping. A lot of these could be absolutely iconic in the future. When I think of, you know, the future, like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I think of like historic moments. So like the Todd Batman, that'll stand out to me. I think you are right. A lot of these NFTs probably will stand the test of time. The Holy Grail ones, I think they're going to be upper echelon of like, you can just dream about owning some of these, right? But again, at the same time, as it gets to that point, 10, you know, 2 decades into this, 20 years from now, as the VeVe app keeps growing success, the OMI token is going to keep growing as well. So the OMI token is really dependent on the VeVe app right now. And maybe, you know, 20 years from now, it's branched off into not only just that other gaming platform, it's now the Coinbase NFT, it's the token for the whole Coinbase NFT market. And if something like that was to happen, now we're talking like, you know, goodbye $10 OMI token prediction. That's that way out here. It's going past that. Official moon boy right up there.
$1,000 OMI token. Yeah.
But just trying to like zoom out like 30 years from now, you know, in case OMI was to branch off and be on all these different platforms, right? I mean, in that case, then maybe, you know, the OMI would be better than the NFTs.
Yeah, that's how the OMI tokenomics works. The more the items are purchased in the store, the more OMI tokens are burnt, and as the items are more expensive and more items are dropped, then more and more tokens are getting burnt. And over time, 30 years from now, who knows? There's tokens could be so scarce that they could be worth a ton.
Definitely.
All right, guys. I think this is kind of like the last question, but not time-based. Is there a price? And I'll start with you, Johnny Dunn. Is there a price when that OMI's going to hit at some point that will change your mind and make you think that OMI is a better investment? Of course, it's really low right now, and you already feel like NFTs are a better investment. Let's say OMI drops all the way down to 000 then 1.
Yeah, you got to go for I'm changing. I've got to go OMI. Now change the whole debate. You got to go OMI.
What do you think, man? Is there a certain
Now, see,
level?
I would say you're trying to ask for like a certain price point. Like, what is the ticker? Like, okay, now it's time to go
Yeah, that's
OMI.
tough. I know.
It's definitely tough. Even right now, just for the sake of the argument, I was saying all NFTs, but in all seriousness, like even right now, I think we're teetering that tipping point to maybe go OMI right now, just because you're looking at in my opinion only, not financial advice. It's a little bit safer of a net, just because I always look at it as only like the fuel, the gasoline, and not so much the fleet of cars. When you're looking at NFTs right now, I don't, the holy grail ones will last, but you have a little bit more of a risk trying to decide which NFT are you going to pick. There's hundreds of collectibles. There's going to be hundreds of comics, maybe thousands at some point. So you're constantly watching the market too to try to decide where it's at in the marketplace right now. So maybe even right now, I think is a good tipping point. Even I've decided, do I add in more gems or just go buy OMI right now? Like it comes in like borderline of the collectibles are so much fun. It kind of gets that emotional attachment, which I know with investing, you shouldn't really be emotional. So it's always a hard choice. But I would say right now as a teetering point, I would lean maybe OMI if you're not too into collectibles and you don't really want to stay too in tune with the micro of the market up and down.
Sure, yeah, I think it's the exact same way as you. A lot of times, if I have some money I want to put into it, I have to decide, do I want to put it into OMI or NFTs? And like you, I always come up, not always, but usually come up with NFTs are more fun to play with or whatever. But also, there is a level when OMI is so low. And there was a time, I think it was at 025 or 03, where I wanted to buy some gems, but OMI was so low, I bought like $800 worth of OMI and just went on with it. So what do you think, Chris, going the other way, is OMI ever going to reach a price when it hits that $10 or maybe 50 cents or 10 cents? Is there a price at OMI for OMI to hit where you think that now that NFTs are a better investment?
Man, it's the other way. So basically saying, oh, interesting. I would say, let's see. So I started currently with NFTs. So I first got into the NFTs, and the way I did that, I even said it a few times in your stream vault throughout the months I've been here. I started with the $15. I put it in onto the VeVe, and I was like, you know what? I don't really know what this is. And I saw the first comic book drop, and I bought it. And then I saw that they didn't even have like a structured system or whatever at the first day. So when you went on that marketplace, you had to just go and pick and choose and see if you can get one. And then people were selling them for like $3.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yeah.
And I'm over here like, what is going on? I was like, are you telling me what I just bought's worth half? So I sold mine for $4. And I was like, I just need the gems. I need the gems to get the next one. I was like, I didn't think about putting money in, which I don't know why I didn't think about putting more money in the app. I felt like I was like, whatever I put in, I just want to start and use. So I did that. I built my way up and I flipped. And then I turned that $15 into, I think at one point it was all-time highs, maybe like $15, $16, $17,000 off of just off of NFTs. So
easy.
If you exactly like things like that are possible with the NFTs because of all the, I think for the shortest time, right after the market opens, every time we see the market open for an NFT, I think that is your pure volatility right there. You don't know what it is going to be priced at. People have no idea what to list these for, and then that's when the most deals are made, the most transactions are. So for that brief hour, you're able to snipe all these serial numbers, get all these different mints, and you try to accumulate the best ones, because some people are going to make mistakes. They don't know what they're really pricing in yet. So I would say NFTs preferably would probably be one where, as compared to OMI token, it's just going to be at that price range, and it's just going to be around. And the only thing that probably impacted at that point is, again, the burn mechanics. And let's say one day, what if VeVe's like, no more NFTs, that's it, and then it's like, well, there goes the burn mechanics on OMI. Well, it's still going to be going through the transactions and stuff like that. But I think the NFTs would be, that's the way it would be, because that's the way I was able to bring myself up from a small little account to a big account now, and to be able to start flipping all these. And that's the way I'd see it. So that's me.
Yeah, I was the same way as you. I looked back and I was like, why was I not putting in more money to go for the drops instead of selling stuff to go for the drops? And I regret almost everything that I sold. All right, guys, if you're in the chat, we're getting ready to have live voting for you guys to pick who the winner of tonight's debate is. The topic is VeVe NFTs versus OMI tokens. Johnny Dunn is representing the NFTs, and All Day Chris is representing the OMI tokens. I had one more topic that for some reason didn't pop up on my screen, but it's an important one. It was like my number one topic, and that is, and we're going to start with, I think it's Chris All Day's turn to start. In the future, whenever we have OMI tokens to NFTs and NFTs to OMI tokens, the ability to exchange those, which is probably going to be coming pretty soon, is that going to change your opinion in any way? Of your opinion that OMI tokens are a better investment, or are they now coupled in as the same thing once you're able to exchange them between each other?
I would say at that point, people would probably lean towards the OMI token perspective, because now if you're able to, let's say, buy any of these NFTs now with OMI, that's just a lot easier for everybody. Now you get rid of the gym transaction thing, and the whole thing with that currently is like, as you can see, anytime news comes out with VeVe, markets go up and down, people are selling off and on. So like MTL is getting a hit or miss. I'm seeing on the all these little different chats and groups, people are like, oh man, 10% is expensive, and then some people are like, hey, 10% is what they should get. Hey, 10%, it's whatever. But to me, I'm still in the works on that. But I would say once they get the whole OMI perspective of it, then that whole 10% fee, I don't think they could really take 10% of your OMI, because now you're transacting in those crypto spaces. So it'd be those little percent fees for gas fees, whatever it is they would need. But there is no gas currently, but it'd be whatever those little fees are. And I think that would deter people from cashing out to the USD method, and it would bring them to the crypto side of things. And if that brings everybody doing this over here, then they're going to be like, hey, nobody wants to cash out on our MTL anymore. They're all over here. Let's find something out. And then here we go again. Like, they just find a way to rework it. They would be like, all right, now we're just going to, put a little tax on every time you do whatever. But hopefully not. But I think the OMI is going to be preferably the way people go in towards in the long term, because it's just going to be, once they make it, again, accessible, easy to understand, and comprehensible for everybody, that's the way it's going to go moving forward. So OMI all the way to the moon. Hopefully $10, $1,000. Yeah.
I don't know about $10, but you might be right that whenever we're able to do OMI to NFT and NFT to OMI, that's going to make OMI the better investment, because you no longer have to pay that 10% fee. Well, I don't know. What do you think, John? Do you think that's going to make OMI the better investment?
Yeah, so that's definitely a great point right there. And I do think there will be some kind of fee. Maybe the fee gets taken out of gems instead of the OMI token. And if there was some kind of fee out of OMI, it would probably just get burned. So, I mean, that would benefit OMI as well. So I definitely like that. I definitely do see more people probably willing to sell like duplicate collectibles. For me, example, I definitely want to sell a couple of my duplicates for more OMI. That's kind of my way in my head of getting more OMI. So I think I'm not the only one thinking like that. I think there's other people probably thinking the same thing too. Now, I kind of see this happening. I kind of see the same kind of thing happening to the market, what's happening right now. A little bit of a gem squeeze. It's probably going to be a little bit of a dip when that happens, just because people want to cash out right now for a couple of reasons. One, to have 1,000 gems in their account. Two, just initiate that cash out. And because of the James Bond drop, it does cost $1,000. So I think a lot of people are trying to liquidate, not really cash out, but liquidate, I would say, for that reason. And once we can sell for OMI, I see maybe possibly the same thing kind of happening. Now, I don't see this dip lasting long. I think it's like a temporary dip. I think the same thing could happen with the OMI. Once we can get that first word of OMI to NFT and vice versa, I see maybe some people dropping the prices of some collectibles to stash some OMI. And so thinking about that, I do see short term, maybe OMI being that good investment right there, because I think maybe some collectibles could drop. But again, long term, I think in the end, when people want to show off their collectibles, they're not going to want to show off their stash of OMI. I think they're going to show off their Batman first ever VeVe NFT, their Secret Spider-Man, stuff like that, their Disney collectibles. So I think in the end, it still could come down to those collectibles. But in that short term, if you wanted to try to time it, like how some people try to time the market this time, a lot of people time the market great on these dips. They kind of expected a dip to come around this time. So I know some people are stashing gems, sold off a little bit ago. And they're in a great position right now, right? They stash those gems ready to attack. And if I think some people could be maybe doing the same thing if that ever was to make an announcement. So maybe in the short term, that OMI, but I'm gonna ride or die with this debate is VeVe and go with the VeVe NFTs again, because I think in the end, people are going to show off their VeVe NFTs instead of their stash of OMI. So
that's a true debater right there. Ride and die with your side of the your side of the argument.
For debate purposes only.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. A lot of people are enjoying the argument. Firefly is enjoying my cat, always meowing in the background at some point. He's an attention hog. He has to get on camera anytime I'm streaming. All right, guys, it's time to have the vote for tonight, and you can vote for either the person that you think made the best arguments, or if you want to, you can vote for whichever side you think is the correct argument to make, or you can vote for whoever who has the nicest shirt on. It's your decision how you want to vote.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a poll, and as I'm getting the poll ready, I usually ask you guys some of lightning round questions, and I definitely have a good one for today. I'll start out with you, Johnny Dunn. Are you going for the secret rare Aston Martin?
Oh, okay. I am going for it, but I'll make a little caveat. I don't know how I'm gonna get the gems for it just yet. I will say that because I don't have the gems just yet, and I didn't make enough sales in before. I think I'm just gonna add in gems. That's kind of my decision. I didn't want to sell too many things right now because I feel like the prices are just too low. I am a firm believer in these NFTs will rebound, and I don't want to make the mistake of selling things too low right now. So I'm just gonna bite the bullet, add some more gems in, go for the drop. And if I don't get it, I'll just look for some opportunities, or maybe even just hold the gems for even future drops. Just have the gems there. So I am going to go for the drop. Hoping, crossing my fingers. This will be 4 in a row. I don't know if that's even possible. So
4 in a row. I think I'm on a streak too. I heard you say that the other day that you were on 3 in a row. I think I'm on 3 in a row too. And I think you're really smart to put gems in, because that's kind of what a lot of people are doing right now. They're selling to get that to that 1,000 mark, and the market's down, so they're probably selling for a loss. I don't know. What do you think all day, Chris? Are you going for the secret rare Aston Martin?
So I'm in the same position as Johnny. I have some gems, but I don't have enough gems. Like, I got enough for the one coming out first. Yeah. So let's say maybe we're all able to get that. I'm definitely gonna probably flip that to see if I can get some more, because I'm not trying to sell my Steamboat Willie, because at one point I listed it up and I was like, you know what, maybe it is time to sell this, because what if this car goes for like absurd amount? But I was like, if I sell it, can I live with myself like I did with the wool? I was like, probably not. So I can't. I don't think I want to sell anything anymore. I learned the hard way that selling just always comes back for you later down the road. So I'm gonna have to hold, and if I have to, I'm gonna have to put the extra cash in, because if I was able to get one, remember there's only like 7 of like it's like going for the James Bond tickets all over again, but you get a better chance with the other one. It's like, do I really want to sell out things for the 0.002% chance that I might get one? But then you're like, what if I am that 0.0.2?
You never know, right?
It's a big gamble. There's 507 of one of the secret rares, then 7 of the other. But somebody did check the app, because they're already posted on there, and VeVe did keep 90 of the 507. So technically there's 417 plus 7, so 424 going out to the public. It's hard to spend sell off a bunch of your stuff for cheap whenever you have such a low chance of getting it. But hey, it's fun to try. I'm gambling. I'm doing it. I got my gems loaded up. I sold 4 of my 7 motorcycles. I had to do it.
Okay. I mean, see, that's the thing. It's sometimes you have to weigh the risk versus reward, but with the fun aspect too, because like at the end of the day, it's all fun, and like you're having fun going for it, and your chances aren't great. But if somehow you luck out, it could be worth it, right? And even if you don't, you still have fun doing it. And you're risking the motorcycles, which I think is okay. I mean, so I think they're going to do pretty well, but it's not like you're risking your top tier, your best collectibles. In worst case scenario, the motorcycles do go off or whatever, but you're okay with that because, they're probably not your favorite. So
and I still have 3 of them.
I don't know.
Yeah, and you still have 3 of them, right?
That's Vault's dealership right there, guys.
I am trying to put a dealership, but I'm waiting for that Harley Davidson first appearance to stock up.
I bet that's one collectible where my dad's so old school. Like, he doesn't even have a cell phone. Like, when I say old school, like old school. So trying to get him to understand NFTs was like impossible. I'm lucky my mom and my grandmom were able to understand it, but my dad on the other hand took a little while. But he was watching a movie, I think just a week ago. And after me explaining to him NFTs and everything, like collectible wise, it could be a car, motorcycle. He was watching a movie. I think it was like Knight Rider or something like that. I forget the movie name, but it had like a famous scene with the Harley Davidson motorcycle. And he was like, that should be an NFT. I was like, what did you just say, Dad? I was like, let's go. They probably will have a Harley Davidson NFT one day.
Definitely. So I could see that being an NFT on VeVe too. I wonder if Harley Davidson's already done any NFTs. They probably have, because they're the type of company that would. All right, guys, another question that I usually ask during the lightning round is, and this is going to be hard for Johnny. I'll let you start, Johnny. What NFT, if one exists on the VeVe app that you don't own, do you want? Is there one that you want really bad?
So no, there's a few that I don't own, definitely. All right, so Obviously, I don't own the Donnie. That's one season one that I don't own. For a while, I wanted that one, but now it's like I don't even really want the Donnie, to be
Not a
honest.
fan. I'm not a Donnie fan.
Because I just think about like how. Now, shout out to all the Donnie holders out there if anyone's watching who is a Donnie holder. But like for me, if I had the 100 grand or whatever the floor is right now, I feel like I couldn't spend it on just the one Donnie. You know, I feel like it would just be a waste. Not a waste, but I feel like other opportunities out there to be more optimal. But for me, I feel like it's definitely going to be a season one collectible, because there was a point in time where I really every season one collectible that were just too expensive for me to even have a chance at it. So, but I would say the Harley Quinn Steve Pugh. Shout out to Claire. I mean, Claire's been a big advocate on my mind. She has that collectible, and it's always been one that I really wanted to go after. I don't have the Harley Pugh. There's another one that I really like. The Harley Pugh is one. The other one of that set is the Terry Dobson. I don't have the Terry Dobson either, and that's a collectible I feel like most people have. So I'll probably say the Terry Dobson, because that's reachable for a lot of people out there.
I think there's
and
only
that's
750 of those.
Exactly. Yeah, it's super limited, and it's just, you know, it's one of those collectibles. It's still on my list to get, to be honest. I still want to get that one because it's still kind of cheap. And especially because now that we know the first edition, that FE tag is not going to be on collectibles anymore. That was the difference. So the reason why FE is not on that Steamboat Willie is because they decided they're not going to have FE on collectibles, only on like artistic designs and stuff like that. So that's the only reason why. But honestly, bro, that collectible right there, Steamboat Willie, in my eyes, I could be wrong on this, but in my opinion, I really wish I had duplicates, because I think that's going to be iconic. I think that is a super legendary collectible, because that's the first time Mickey Mouse ever showed up in real life. Mm-hmm. Like the first time ever they had synchronized music, like sound and dancing, and like I think it's dancing movement, I guess you could say. Yeah. Was Steamboat Willie. Like that, to me, that's one of the few collectibles that doesn't need an FE or FA tag.
Yeah,
so
it's not just iconic to Mickey Mouse or Disney, it's also iconic to film in general.
Right, yeah, exactly, for that reason. Yep.
All right, guys, we do have a winner, and I do want to get your answer to all day, Chris, before we end. But I wanted to let you guys know it's been 5 minutes, and the winner, it went back and forth several times. And of course, OG Johnny Dunn came out on top. All of his fans are probably in here giving him the extra butt. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's go, Chris. No, great debate though, man. I mean, either way, I mean, great debate.
Yeah, brother. You guys both did great. Everybody in the chat was enjoying it. I'm gonna go ahead. I went ahead and got both these guys QR codes so I could send them their prize while we're on stream. And I want to go ahead and get all day Chris's answer for if there's any NFTs, VeVe NFTs on the app that you don't own that you want, like in particular.
So the ones currently on the app, right? So, right. Okay. I want my Walt back.
Oh yeah, try to get the Walt back.
I want my Walt back. I'm gonna be the guy like those, like the, you know, some of the people who like, you know, list them for like 2.5 gems. I'm gonna make a story, be like, I went to sleep and I thought this Walt was, you know, I thought it was not on the market, but somehow when I rolled over, I clicked it to list it on there. So right. I'd like to have it back. But no, if I could have one back, it's Walt, because I think that's the grail. And if somehow they manage to get lifetime access to Disney World, Disneyland, all the Disneys and all of the countries, that would be insane. Like that would make it to the best NFT ever to exist. So I think honestly it would be Walt. And if not, I don't know what the thing is with Donnie, I watched Powerpuff Girls growing up, and I didn't do it. Like I watched that, I had it in the background. I always said it. I've never seen a giant unicorn come on the screen. Like, who's Donnie, man? Like, why is he worth 100 grand? Like, why isn't Bubbles 100K? Like, I know Bubbles. Like, who the hell is Donnie?
I make a lot of jokes about Donnie. I'm not a big Donnie fan. I don't understand why this little horse is worth so much. We have a lot of arguments about scarcity and IP, and if people really do believe IP is so important, then why don't all the Donnie hoarders just dump those and buy golden moments? I don't know. What do you think, Johnny?
That's a great point, because that is a big debate, right? Like scarcity versus IP and popularity. I do believe the thing with scarcity is they can have huge high floors, I think, just because there's only X amount of people that can hold them. So I feel like there's just less people that will be less willing to take profits. Like I always say with the Walt, there's 4,000 people who hold that collectible. It's iconic, but you have the 4,000 holders. You just have more people willing to take profits at a sooner point, as opposed to maybe, you know, the collectible with 500 editions. Only 500, or really 400 people hold that. So, but again, I think in the end, popularity will cause scarcity. Like that, the popularity and demand will cause a scarcity.
True.
And so, just for that reason. But in the short term, like until it gets there, I think there's going to be a lot of volatility. Maybe a lot of extreme dips, like we're seeing now, kind of gets cut in half, just because you have, thousands of people out there. As many people. Like look at CryptoPunks. I always go back to, because in 2017, 2018, 2019, they weren't $100,000, $200,000 back then. So a lot of people sold them, a couple of years for maybe a first $10 because they were free, then a $500 floor, then $10,000 floor, and they got the $50,000 floor. People had to hold on to this CryptoPunks, 4 or 5 years later to see the floor what it's at today. And so I think they went through extreme volatility too. So. And that's 10,000 editions, even though each one is like a one of one by itself with the total collection there. And a lot of them probably got lost in wallets and everything like that too. It's a little bit of a difference, but I just think over time, something popular like Disney IP, Batman, Superman, these big IP brands that just like everybody's a fan of, the more VeVe gets adopted, I think that's going to cause the scarcity in a lot of these collectibles.
Yeah, especially when we have millions and millions of people on the app, there's not going to be a big difference between 5,000 and 500 because there's millions and millions. The numbers get smaller and smaller. All right, my OMI homies and fellow NFT collectors, I appreciate you, Johnny Dunn, and I appreciate you all day, Chris, aka Original Mertz, for coming on the channel for VeVe Debate Night. You guys both presented excellent arguments for your sides. This is a tough argument to have because I struggle with it all the time. Which one do I want to invest in? Because I think they're both great investments, and that's why we're all here. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming to VeVe Debate Night. We're going to get a couple new debaters for next week and a new topic, and we'll be at it again. And of course, if you don't know already, which I'm sure you do know, we got some big drops coming up tomorrow. The first one is at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the second one is at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Secret Rare Blind Box. So, all right, shout out to everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks guys for being in the debate tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us, Vol. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Later.
Take it easy, chat.
Have a good one.